The gun pressed against Sam's head made his lips shake. "Sign the paper," a cold voice whispered behind him. "Divorce Juliana now." Sam's hands trembled. His shirt was torn. The room was an old warehouse with broken windows and dripping pipes. A single bulb swung over his face like a slow clock. Shadows of tall men moved along the wall. One of them cocked the gun. "I will not leave her," Sam said, voice small but steady. "Even if I die." A door crashed open. Footsteps thundered. A voice shouted, "Police, drop your weapon." Everything exploded into screams and running feet. Sam shut his eyes, and we jumped back to where it all began. That morning, Lagos woke up with the sound of engines and hope. Inside the largest car assembly plant in Africa, Jules auto assembly plant machines hummed like a giant choir. Bright lights shone over silver lines of cars. Robots lifted doors and lowered engines with perfect hands. Workers in blue uniforms moved with care. The air smelled like new metal. A woman walked in through a side gate. She wore a dusty blue mechanic overall. Her hair was messy, her cheeks had oil smudges. In one hand, she held a spanner. In the other, another spanner. She looked like a hungry person who had slept under a bridge. No one knew this woman. Only one man did. Simon, the plant manager. He stood on a balcony and watched her with a secret smile. He had kept a promise. Because that woman under the dirt and the overall was Juliana Anderson, the new CEO and owner of Jules Auto. She had become a billionaire at 30, after her father died and left everything to her. She had lived outside Nigeria for years. Almost no one at the plant had met her. They had only seen her name on emails and memos. Today, she had a mission. Test the heart of people. "Don't tell anyone it's me," she had told Simon the night before. "I want to see how they treat a stranger with nothing." Simon had nodded. "Yes, ma'am. I will watch." Now, somewhere near Assembly Line C, a 2010 Corolla stood with its bonnet open. Three men, Sam and his two friends, leaned over the engine, talking loudly. Sam was 35, dark-skinned and well-dressed in a blue long-sleeve shirt tucked into black trousers. The sleeves were rolled up and a little wrinkled. His friends wore button shirts and belts. They were laughing too much, like people who wanted the whole room to notice them. "The engine is finished," one friend said. "Just buy a new car," the other added. "This is Jules Auto. They have brand new ones." Sam sighed. "Maybe you're right. I'm tired of this old thing." Juliana, still in her disguise, stepped closer. Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten breakfast on purpose. She wanted the hunger to guide her test. "Good morning, sirs," she said softly. "You don't need to change it. I can fix it." She lifted the spanners. "For a food. Just buy me a plate of jollof rice and I will fix it for you." The three men stared at her. Then they burst into loud laughter. Sam pointed at her with a smirk. "A food? Who are you? How did you even enter this place?" His friend covered his mouth as he laughed. "Madam, this is not roadside. This is the biggest assembly in Africa." The other friend waved her away. "Go outside. We are busy." Juliana's face stayed calm. "I can help you. No need to waste money." Sam shook his head, like he had heard a silly joke. "You think you like this, can touch my engine." He looked around for staff to watch him show power. "Manager," he shouted. "Where is the manager?" "Call security." Workers nearby turned. Some frowned at the scene. Others whispered. The smell of pride grew thicker than the smell of metal. Juliana lowered her eyes for a moment, feeling the sting, but not from their words. From the truth of people. Then she looked up again, brave and steady. "I can fix it," she repeated. "Just jollof rice. That is all." Sam stepped closer, chin high. "If you touch this car, I will sue you." He snapped his fingers. "Security." Footsteps. The crowd parted. Simon walked in, calm, clean, and serious. He looked at the engine. He looked at the men. He looked at Juliana. The line in his eyes tightened. He kept his promise and kept the secret. "Manager," Sam said, loud and proud, "please remove this woman from the premises. She's embarrassing us. We came to buy a car. We are important customers." A slow silence fell. Simon did not look at Sam. He looked right at the mechanic with the two spanners and asked in a quiet voice only she could hear, "Are you ready?" Juliana gave him a tiny nod. Then Simon faced Sam. "Sir," he said, with a voice like a warning bell. Do you know who you are mocking and asking me to throw out? Sam rolled his eyes. Who? A hungry mechanic. Juliana set both spanners on the car frame and straightened her shoulders. With one smooth motion, she unzipped the dirty overall and slipped it off. Underneath, she wore a sharp, expensive suit the color of night. A gold pin on her lapel shone under the factory lights. J.A. Her hair fell neatly around her face. The oil smudges were gone. She stood tall, calm, unshaken. Every sound in the plant seemed to fade. Robots kept moving, but people froze. Juliana's voice was clear. Don't be too quick to judge people and disrespect them, she said. We all have different stories. Today, I chose to see how the world would treat me if I were a poor mechanic. She held Sam's eyes. You have shown me who you are. Sam's mouth fell open. His two friends stopped smiling. One swallowed hard. She lifted her chin. My name is Juliana Anderson, she said, the words ringing like steel. And I am the CEO of Jules Auto Assembly Plant. A gasp ran through the workers like a wave. Some covered their mouths. A welder almost dropped his mask. A young intern whispered, It's her. Sam took a step back. No, this is a joke. But his voice shook. Juliana turned to Simon. Manager, please bring me the tablet. Simon handed her a black tablet. She tapped the screen and then held it up. Her eyes returned to Sam. Samuel Okechukwu, she read slowly, aged 35. Applied for the role of plant engineer. Interview scheduled today. Sam froze. Sweat formed on his forehead. His friends stared at him. You already know me? Sam asked, voice small. Juliana's face was kind, but she did not look away. I knew your name when you walked in, and now I know your heart. She looked at the car, then back to him. You laughed at a stranger who asked for jollof rice. You tried to throw her out. Sam's knees loosened. He bent a little, like the ground pulled him down. Please, Mom. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was proud. One friend dropped to his knees at once. Madam, forgive us. The other followed, eyes wet. We didn't know. People around them watched with wide eyes. The air buzzed with shock. Juliana let the silence sit. She breathed in. She remembered her father's voice. Power is not for pride. It is for building people. She glanced at Simon. He stood still, trusting her. She faced Sam again. You said you wanted a new car, she said softly. But what you need is a new heart. Sam nodded, tears glassy. Yes, ma'am. Juliana looked down at the open engine. This car is not dead, she said. It needs attention. It needs someone patient. It needs someone who doesn't walk away when things look messy. She raised her eyes. Can you be that kind of person, Sam? Sam wiped his face. I can try. Juliana's voice went gentle. Don't try. Become. She handed the tablet to Simon, then lifted one of the spanners again, almost smiling. And about the engine? She leaned in, tapped a cable, and pointed to a loose connector near the battery. Tighten this. Replace this coil. Clean the throttle body. It will run. Sam blinked. You knew all along? Juliana gave a small nod. My father taught me cars before he taught me boardrooms. A whisper of respect passed through the workers. She stepped back, slid the spanner onto the frame, and looked at Simon. Manager, she said, voice firm now. Please reschedule Mr. Samuel Okechukwu's interview for later today. I want to see his work, not his words. Sam lifted his head with hope and fear. Ma'am, thank you. Please. Juliana raised a hand, stopping him. Her eyes were kind, but her tone was sharp enough to cut pride. Your apology is a start, she said. Your behavior next will be the test. She turned to the watching crowd. And for everyone here, remember, kindness is also a skill. If you don't have it, you are not ready for leadership. A quiet, yes ma'am, moved through the room. Juliana faced Sam one last time. The plant lights made a halo on the polished floor. The car's bonnet stood open like a mouth, waiting for truth. Samuel, she said, saying his name carefully. Go and get your hands clean. Then meet me in conference room 3 in 30 minutes. Sam nodded fast. Yes, ma'am. Juliana took one step away, then stopped. She looked back at the Corolla, then at Simon, and then at Sam's two friends still kneeling. Her voice dropped to a calm whisper that somehow everyone heard. Also, there is one more thing. She pointed at the corner security camera. We record everything on this floor. She turned the tablet around. The screen showed a video, still Sam pointing and laughing at the poor mechanic. Juliana lifted her eyes, steady and unreadable. When you walk into that interview, Sam, she said, you will tell me who you were in this video and who you plan to be after today. She closed the tablet with a soft click. The room held its breath. Security, Juliana said quietly. Escort these 3 gentlemen to the wash area. And then, she paused, eyes fixed on Sam, as if weighing his future in her hands. To my office. The crowd gasped. Sam's heart pounded so hard he could hear it. And then the plant alarm rang twice. Beep, beep. A signal that the CEO was moving through the floor, that meetings were about to change, that lives were about to turn. Sam swallowed. Was this the door to his dream, or the end of it? The plant clock ticked toward conference room 3. Sam washed his hands in silence. His friends tried to talk, but he could barely hear them. His mind replayed the moment, the way Juliana had unzipped her mechanic overall and transformed into the CEO of the very company he wanted to work for. How could I have been so blind, he thought. 1 plate of jollof rice, that was all she asked. And I mocked her. The room was wide, with glass walls overlooking the factory floor. A polished mahogany table stood at the center. The company's logo, Jules Auto Assembly, was carved into the wall in silver. Juliana sat at the head of the table, calm and unreadable in her sleek black suit. Simon stood behind her, tablet in hand. A few senior engineers sat along the sides, curious but quiet. Sam entered slowly. His friends were not allowed in. This was his test alone. He bowed his head. Good afternoon, ma'am. Juliana didn't smile. Sit. Sam sat, his palms sweating. Juliana slid the tablet across the table. On the screen was the paused video. Sam pointing and laughing at her in her mechanic disguise. Who is this man? Juliana asked, her voice low. Sam's throat went dry. That is, me, ma'am. And who do you plan to be after today? Sam swallowed. A better man, a humble one. Someone who respects people, no matter how they look. For the first time, Juliana leaned back, her eyes softening. Words are easy, Sam, but this company is built on action. She tapped the table. Tell me, how would you fix the Corolla engine on the floor? Sam blinked, his heart raced. But this was what he knew best. He had studied engines for years, worked with his uncle in a small Lagos workshop, and dreamed of joining Jules Auto because it was his father's lifelong wish. He leaned forward. First, I would check the coil pack. It looked weak. Then I'd tighten the battery connector, it was loose. After that, I'd clean the throttle body. That will improve airflow and stop the stalling. One of the senior engineers raised his eyebrows. He's right. Juliana nodded slightly. And if it doesn't start after that? Sam answered quickly. Then it's fuel pressure. I'd check the pump relay and the lines. Juliana's face didn't move, but inside, she remembered her father teaching her those same steps when she was 15. She looked around the table. Gentlemen, what do you think? An older engineer spoke. He's skilled, knows his basics. Juliana's gaze returned to Sam. Good. Now, humility. Do you understand why you're here? Sam's chest tightened. Yes, ma'am. Because I judged you. Because I disrespected someone who asked for help. Juliana leaned forward, her voice sharp. Because you saw dirt and thought it meant worthlessness. If you had looked deeper, you would have seen skill, hunger, dignity. Sam nodded, tears brimming. I see that now. The room went quiet. The hum of machines outside filled the silence. Finally, Juliana stood. Simon, schedule his second interview with HR. If his papers and qualifications match his words, he stays. Sam's head shot up. Thank you, ma'am. Juliana raised a hand. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you prove yourself on this floor. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am, Sam whispered. Juliana turned her back to him, looking out through the glass wall at the assembly line. Remember, Samuel cars can be repaired. But character? That is harder. Don't fail this chance. Sam stood slowly, bowing. He walked out of the room with shaky legs, but a fire in his chest. Later that evening, Simon caught Juliana in her office. She stood by the window, sipping water. You were hard on him, Simon said gently. Juliana turned. And I should be. This company is not just machines, it's people. And people must learn. Simon nodded. Do you think he'll make it? Juliana's eyes drifted back to the factory lights outside. That depends on how badly he wants to change. Her phone buzzed. A text appeared on the screen. Her heart stopped for a moment. The message read, "Hello, Juliana. Long time. You thought you could escape me?" David. Her fingers froze around the phone. The past she had buried the man who had once stolen her heart, and her money was back. At that exact time, Sam sat alone in his small rented room. His eyes stared at the ceiling fan. His heart was full of both shame and hope. But he didn't know his life, and Juliana's were about to tangle in ways neither could imagine. And the shadow of David was only the beginning. Juliana couldn't take her eyes off the phone screen. The name David burned like fire in her chest. It had been 7 years since she last saw him. 7 years since he had vanished, with not only her trust, but also millions meant for her first auto project. She had built herself from the ashes of that betrayal. Yet here he was, texting her as if he still owned a piece of her life. Simon noticed her frozen expression. "Who is it?" he asked. Juliana slipped the phone into her pocket quickly. "Nobody." But her heart pounded. It was far from nobody. At the other end of town, Sam sat on his rickety bed, staring at his old certificate folder. If HR checked tomorrow, they would discover the truth. His degree was incomplete. He had dropped out in his final year because his father fell sick. All he had was raw talent and workshop experience. What if she finds out, he thought, panic twisting his stomach. Will she throw me out? Will she think I lied? His two friends barged into the room, still laughing from earlier. "Sam, you're wasting your time," one of them said. "That woman won't give you the job. Rich people like her, they just want to disgrace poor men." Sam clenched his fists. "You didn't hear her. She gave me a chance. I won't waste it." But deep down, fear gnawed at him. Juliana sat in her office, the plant quiet after closing hours. She finally opened David's message again. "David. Hello, Juliana. Long time. You thought you could escape me?" Another buzz followed. "David. I hear you own the plant now. Impressive. But you and I have unfinished business. See you soon." Her breath caught. "See me soon?" she muttered. "No, not again." She picked up her phone and dialed a private security contact. "I need surveillance increased around the plant. And at my house. No questions asked." Her voice shook, but her face hardened. Sam arrived at the plant early, dressed in his cleanest shirt and trousers. He clutched his worn-out file like it was his last shield. At HR, the officer scanned his documents and frowned slightly. "Your transcript shows no graduation." Sam's stomach dropped. He wanted to run. But then he remembered Juliana's words. "Cars can be repaired. But character? That is harder." He lifted his chin. "I didn't finish, sir. I dropped out because my father was dying. I've worked in small workshops ever since. I know engines. I know systems. I may not have the paper, but I have the hands." The officer stared at him for a long moment, then silently wrote something on the file. "Wait outside." Sam sat in the hallway, trembling. Minutes later, Simon appeared. "Juliana wants to see you." Sam's knees felt like water as he followed. Juliana looked at him calmly. "Your secret is out. No degree. Why didn't you tell me yesterday?" Sam's voice cracked. "Because I was ashamed. But I want to prove I can work. Please, ma'am. Give me one chance. Just one." Silence. The ticking clock echoed like a hammer. Finally, Juliana leaned forward. "Your honesty today saved you. Do you understand?" Sam blinked in shock. You'll still let me try?" "Yes," she said firmly. "Not because of your certificate, but because you admitted the truth. This company was built on sweat, not paper. But," her eyes narrowed, "fail me once, and you're gone." "And Sam bowed deeply, tears filling his eyes. "I won't fail you." At that exact moment, her phone buzzed again. She glanced at the screen. "David, I'm closer than you think." Juliana's hand froze. Her gaze lifted toward the window, and there, across the street, a black SUV sat parked, its tinted windows facing her office. Her pulse thundered. The black SUV hadn't moved in hours. Juliana stood at her office window, her hands gripping the blind so tightly her knuckles turned white. She knew that presence. "David." Her phone buzzed again. David, your empire looks nice from here. But remember, Juliana, I built you before I broke you, and I can do it again. She slammed the phone shut, her chest heaving. For the first time in years, fear threatened to swallow her confidence. Simon rushed in. Ma'am, security checked the SUV. No license plate. Whoever's inside isn't coming out. Juliana's voice was sharp. Keep eyes on them. Double the guards. But her mind whispered, why now? Why when I finally gave Sam a chance? On the factory floor, Sam wiped sweat from his brow. The Corolla he had spoken about yesterday was rolled in again, this time dead silent. A senior engineer crossed his arms. If you want to work here, fix it. No tools, but what's in this box? No help. 30 minutes. Sam bent over the engine, heart racing. He muttered to himself, battery, plugs, pump. His hands moved fast, his mind sharper than ever. He tightened, adjusted, cleaned, prayed. Minutes ticked by. At last, he turned the key. The engine roared to life. The workers nearby clapped lightly. One muttered, not bad for a dropout. As number 30 was no, Sam's chest lifted with pride. For the first time, he believed he could belong here. But then, the alarm blared. Simon's voice cracked over the intercom. Security breach. Unknown vehicles at the west gate. Workers scattered. Machines shut down. Sam froze, tools still in his hand. Through the glass panels, he saw them 3 black SUVs rolling in. Men in dark suits stepping out. They weren't police. They weren't customers. They looked like shadows with guns. Juliana stormed onto the floor, flanked by guards. Her eyes swept the chaos. Then she saw Sam, still standing by the Corolla. Sam, get down, she shouted. Bullets cracked against the factory walls. Workers screamed and ducked. Sam dropped flat, adrenaline surging. From the SUV, a tall figure emerged. His face older, but still sharp, scar on his jawline. David. He spread his arms wide, as if greeting an old friend. Juliana, my queen of engines. Did you miss me? Juliana's blood boiled. You dare step in here? David laughed, his voice echoing through the chaos. You stole my idea, my money, my future. Now I've come to collect. Her jaw clenched. You betrayed me first. David's eyes scanned the room, finally landing on Sam. He smirked. And who is this? Your little mechanic boy? Looks useful. Sam's heart sank as David's men started moving toward him. Juliana turned to her guards. Protect the workers. Keep Sam safe. But Sam, trembling, stood up slowly. His mind screamed to run, yet his legs didn't move. He couldn't leave Juliana standing against those men. For the first time, his shame, his hunger, his pride, all burned into courage. He grabbed a metal rod from the floor, holding it like a weapon. If you want her, he shouted, you'll have to get through me first. The entire floor went silent for a heartbeat. David's lips curled into a dangerous smile. Oh, this will be fun. The sound of footsteps grew louder. Shadows closed in. The factory floor echoed with heavy footsteps as David's men advanced. Workers cowered behind machines. The air smelled of oil, smoke, and fear. Sam gripped the iron rod tighter. His hands shook, but his voice rang clear. You're not taking her. David chuckled, slow and mocking. Look at you, shirt clinging with sweat, eyes wide with fear. A dropout with a stick, standing in my way. Do you even know who I am? Sam swallowed hard. I don't care who you are. She believed in me when no one else did. That's enough. One of David's men lunged. Sam swung the rod with everything he had. The clang echoed as metal met flesh. The man fell back, groaning. Chaos erupted. Guards fired. Workers screamed. Machinery hissed. Sparks lit the air like fireworks. Juliana moved fast, ducking behind an assembly line while shouting orders. Protect the exits. Don't let them spread. Her heart pounded as she locked eyes with David across the floor. He wasn't here just to scare her. He wanted control of her company. Simon slid to her side, breathless. Ma'am, police are on their way, but they'll take time. Juliana's gaze snapped back to Sam. He was still standing, bruised but unyielding, holding off 2 men twice his size. Something inside her shifted. David raised his hand, and his men paused. The floor went eerily quiet. He stepped forward, his smirk fading into cold steel. Juliana, he called. his voice deep, commanding. Give me the plant. Sign over half, and I'll walk away. Resist, and, his eyes slid towards Sam, I'll bury this boy where he stands. Juliana's jaw clenched. Memories of the past flashed him stealing her designs, emptying her bank account, laughing as she cried. She stepped out from cover, shoulders squared. I would rather lose everything than bow to you again. David's eyes darkened. Then you'll watch him die. He motioned towards Sam. Two men rushed him, pinning his arms. Sam struggled, shouting, Don't listen to him, ma'am. Juliana's chest ached. She couldn't lose her company, but she couldn't let David destroy someone who had just found his second chance. Juliana raised her hand. Wait, she shouted. Everyone froze. Her voice dropped lower, steady, fierce. David, do you know why this company stands? Because I built it on resilience, on failure turned into fire, on people like Sam people you would laugh at. David scoffed. Pretty speech, but Juliana smiled faintly. And here's the difference between you and me. You use people, I raise them. At that moment, sirens wailed outside. Police vehicles swarmed the gate. David's smirk faltered. He glanced back. His men hesitated. Juliana shouted, Now! Her guards surged forward. Sam, with one last burst of strength, elbowed free and swung his rod, knocking one of David's men to the ground. Workers rallied, shouting, emboldened. David cursed, backing toward the SUV. This isn't over, Juliana, he growled, before disappearing into the vehicle. The black convoy sped out just as police stormed the plant. The floor slowly calmed. Workers emerged, shaken but alive. Guards secured the plant. Juliana walked toward Sam. He was on his knees, exhausted, sweat dripping, clutching his bruised arm. She crouched beside him. You could have run. Sam looked up, eyes wet. I couldn't. Not after everything you taught me in just 2 days. For the first time, Juliana's stern face softened into a true smile. Then you've already passed the real test. She stood and turned to the gathered workers. Let today be a lesson. Strength isn't in money or titles, it's in standing for what is right. Sam mocked me once, but today he defended us all. From this day, he's one of us. The workers clapped, cheers echoing across the plant. Sam bowed his head, overwhelmed. Weeks later, Sam wore the Jules Auto uniform proudly. He wasn't just a worker, he was an apprentice engineer, personally mentored by Juliana. David had vanished into the shadows, but Juliana knew he would return one day. The difference was, this time, she wasn't alone. She glanced across the plant floor at Sam, tightening bolts on a new model. He looked up, and for the first time in years, she felt something she thought she had lost. Trust. Juliana whispered under her breath. They mocked you, Sam, but you proved them wrong. And together, we'll build more than cars, we'll build a legacy. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.